Very Bad Wizards is a podcast with a philosopher, my dad, and a psychologist, Dave Pizarro, having an informal discussion about issues in science and ethics. Please note that the discussion contains bad words that I'm not allowed to say, and knowing my dad, some very inappropriate jokes.
When you speak, I feel like it's the devil talking.
Ain't that a lovely thing to hear yourself accused of?
The Wayland boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.
Welcome to Very Bad Wizards. I'm Tamler Summers from the University of Houston. Dave, I'm back from Sardinia after a couple of weeks. Anything happen in this country while I was gone?
First of all, didn't you learn how to pronounce it while you were there?
I did.
Second guess yourself. Okay.
Sardinia. And you got to do this thing with your fingers. That's most of it.
It's just like some Italian character on The Simpsons. Listener can imagine. Spicy sardine.
Why, look at my photos from Sardinia.
No, nothing happened. No.
Yeah.
Not that I was paying attention.
Everything's still good,
Our legal system is, you know what? The Constitution is just winning, is all I'm saying. According to people who know.
Yeah. It was down for a while, with liberal justices in power, but now it's back.
They've issued the corrections to what the...
You know what? Like, what would the Patreon tier have to be for you to start a political blog?
No, I have so much honor that there's no amount of money. I would literally start an OnlyFans where I jerked off once a week on camera before I did a political podcast.
Well, you're gonna do that. You've been talking about it for a while.
I was gonna say two birds,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to start doing something new.
You could talk about politics while you're jerking off.
Like Jeffrey Toobin.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not the thing, though. The Roe v. Wade, that's horrible. We can't talk about that right now, but it's awful, obviously.
I can't tell whether we're dicks for not talking about it.
Yeah. Well, it's I don't think I have anything to add, I just don't think it's helpful for us to just say, which I think, I believe this is horrifying. It's completely horrifying.
I was listening to a podcast that it's a guy I like, or a couple guys I like. It's a tech thing and they're liberals, but he said something but let me also encourage you to donate to an abortion, whatever, relief fund.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no one tunes into your tech podcast to hear that they need to donate to abortion relief fund.
Stick to tech, you're saying.
LeBron.
But there was another kind of scandal that happened on Twitter the other day.
That's what I was paying more attention to.
Yeah.
Do you have the tweet pulled up? This is a tweet. Rarely do I get this angry at the tweets, but you have it pulled up? Yeah.
I'm about to get it up. All right, this is Jonathan Weisberg. I don't think I know him. He's a philosophy professor at University of Toronto. I don't know that much about him and his work, but this is what he tweeted. Scorsese, Spielberg, Tarantino, they're master storytellers with the sensibilities of children. Scorsese's obsession with gangsters is 14-year-old boys' stuff. You can admire their talent without lauding their juvenile material. Maybe then we'd get some actual grown-up movies. Oh, man.
God, even just hearing it,
what do you think he thinks a grown-up movie is? Is it
whatever
Kramer versus Kramer or something like that?
Whatever he likes, Love Story, Brian's song,
Awakenings, or something like that. So Robin Williams in a beard movie.
In his sensitive roles, he's the best. No, okay, look, I'm Jonathan Weisberg, I don't know him either. He can have his own opinion. He can tweet it, but he put it out there, so I'm going to tell him why I hate it. It's the kind of commentary that is bulletproof, because no matter what anybody says to defend why a Scorsese movie with gangsters might be a good movie and a mature movie and a grown-up movie, he would just accuse you of being juvenile, like because you like it. The definition of the mind of a 14-year-old as being whatever Jonathan Weisberg has grown out of is just annoying as fuck. And it strikes me as the kind of just unnecessary posturing. Just say you don't like it. Why can't you just say you don't like Tarantino or Scorsese?
There's so many compounded things that are wrong with this. First of all, it's, the kind of prissiness of it, and like the kind of good deep misunderstanding of art, that it would be like divided between like the juvenile 14-year-old boy stuff and the like grown-up stuff.
Right.
They can talk about over a glass of wine after the viewing. It's like, so there's that. There's also the Scorsese has done way more movies that have nothing to do with gangsters than like any director that Jonathan Weisberg could name, like his movies. Like Scorsese has done. So like he has like 4 or 5 movies that are primarily about gangsters at most, and he's directed like 30 films.
Yeah, I believe that even The Last Temptation of Christ, I think he said, was essentially like an immature.
What did he say about that? It made me think also, like, it's possible this is a bit.
Maybe. If so, he trolled me spectacularly. It's
you were much madder about it than I was even though I'm the one that like tweeted it like about it. Like I was not nearly as mad as you were, because like there's a lot of these people out there.
Yeah, it just reminds me of Rick and Morty, when Morty says something super woke and Rick says, "Ooh, someone's getting laid in college." Like that's that's the kind of tweet they're writing. But so what is it to have a 14-year-old boy mind? Is it that there's gratuitous violence? Is that some sort of wish fulfillment? Like I was talking to you about, Inglourious Bastards or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's like an alternate telling where the thing happens that you really wish would happen, like Hitler gets killed in an overdetermined fashion. Is that what is immature or 14-year-oldish about it? Is
just the violence. I think it's the violence and like the kind of the larger than life characters in some of these movies, maybe.
And the kind of violence that you have in some Tarantino films, like Kill Bill, like, sure, it reminds me of young boys playing, swords or whatever. But the kind of violence that you have in a Scorsese gangster film is like, well, this is like the kind of shit that people did. It's ugly and it's grown up as fuck. And does he think that it's glamorizing to think it's a good movie to show? I don't get it. But the whole notion of what a grown up movie is pisses me off. And I think maybe it's because I'm still the kind of grown up who likes animated movies. I can imagine him thinking like, oh, when you hit 12th grade and you want to see your movies that aren't drawn, then hit me up.
Maybe he would like let Miyazaki in or something, just out of pure like, you got to get that pussy.
It's just I don't get why take to Twitter to say something like that.
It's so stupid. And also like Jackie Brown, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they're movies literally about aging. Like 14-year-olds don't like movies about aging and the aging process and like being like middle-aged to late middle-age, feeling like the world has passed you by. Like that's not juvenile stuff. And
what about Spielberg? I think you were saying of the 3, Spielberg might be close to fitting the bill.
If I had to grant him one, I mean, the kind of obvious one to grant would be Tarantino. Like Scorsese, it's just like he shouldn't even be talking about this. It's blasphemous. Like, but yeah, Spielberg. It's a little bit of my personal taste. Like he is like a master craftsman.
And you think something like his love of like 1930s serials that sort of like brought the summer blockbuster into fashion in the 70s and 80s,
and Raiders of the Lost Ark
and Raiders of the Lost Ark, exactly. Trilogy. That came to be what 14-year-old boys love, but I think that the causal arrow might be in the direction of Spielberg making these like kind of cool movies. And then guess what? People who still enjoy things in life like to go watch them for your philosophy degree.
We
Those
are
were
so
fun.
trolled right now. Like we just got fucking played by Jonathan Weisberg from the University of Toronto.
Good job, Jonathan.
He's
Weisberg.
like living rent free in our heads right now.
He really was for like an entire evening for me. Like, why am I coming up with counterexamples in Tarantino's films of like mature content?
No, but it is very morally objectionable. Would you call it evil though?
Well, if he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he did it just because it was wrong, it might just be. So
if you couldn't conceive of doing something like that, it's like unthinkable, you know. And then
that's what we're going to talk about in the second segment. Here's one way though to prep, to warm ourselves up before we get into. So we picked 2 articles to talk about evil, but I couldn't help when we started talking about the topic of the week I couldn't help it but send you this moral alignment test. So some people might know about moral alignment. This comes from Dungeons and Dragons. It's always been kind of like a nifty way, I thought, of categorizing people on their moral qualities, like their moral personality. Like in recent years, it's become memey. Like you can, there's lots of charts, so you've probably heard about it. But I thought it would be fun to actually take this highly empirically backed and well-studied moral alignment test that we thought we would take on air. Yeah. And people can follow along. I took it and I know my score, but we're going to check the
I have my score right here.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah. I screenshotted it because we're going to do it again. I say this, I want it to be chaotic good. Like that's how I hoped it would turn out.
That's exactly what I wanted as well. Yeah. That's how I self-identify. So I don't care what this quiz
Me
says.
too. Yeah. So fuck this, quote unquote, like measure.
Yeah. Okay, so the way that this goes is there's 24 items, and you can agree or disagree. So it's like a 5-point scale. And so let's get to it.
Some of these are tough questions to answer, like this first one. I often forgive those who have wronged me, even if they do not deserve it.
Oh, it must be randomizing the order. So that's okay though. You just say them.
Should we just do mine? I often forgive those who have wronged me, even if they do not deserve it.
It's an interesting one. I feel like they never deserve it, but I always forgive them anyway. Yeah, I answered high on that. I feel like forgiveness comes easily to me, as evident from our 10-year podcasting relationship.
Yeah, I think I put it on 1 agree. The only thing is, like, I don't often like just actively forgive somebody as think whatever, it's fine. Maybe that counts as forgive.
Right. It is kind of a Christian concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't harbor things, so that's why I often help others without expecting anything in return. This is like also like relative to what here, you know?
Yeah. All these personality tests are tricky, but yeah, I think behaviorally, like it's always tricky when there's 2 things. One, I don't expect things in return when I help people. That's for sure. Do I always help people? I mean, I feel like I do, but of course I remember all the times I do. I don't remember all the times I didn't help. So
right. And I'd like to just push back against this idea that you don't expect anything in return. I feel like when you do stuff for me, it's very transactional.
Like I'm keeping score. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you're the Jew.
Okay.
So I'm going to put 1 agree because that's what I think I do it, but I don't know if I do it like as much as the most person on the scale, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. I don't remember if I put 1 or 2. I do. I will say I like helping people.
Yeah.
I have.
That's true, actually. All joking aside, I am not as you do. Like you, how many people's audios do you do?
Two others. Sometimes, yeah.
Do you still do fucking Jesse Singles and their audio? Because that's
No, I
ridiculous.
only
They make
help-
like 50 times as much money as we
I
do.
only helped Katie once when she was in a bind, but I did enjoy doing that, and she was very grateful. Her, Katie. I just wanted to.
Oh yeah, good. They're both really kind of militant about that. When I see others acting carelessly, I think to myself that it is a matter of time before misfortune befalls them. This is a weird question, almost like carelessly, like when they they can't find their keys or something, like
Or when they leave their baby in the car.
yeah.
I put disagree. I think to that. I think because I just can't be like I don't think anybody like there's no. I don't believe in any sort of karma or.
I do, but only in like not in like from the world. Just that like eventually all these things do come back to bite you, and it's hard to be happy if you're just a bad person.
Yeah.
I usually can't be bothered to help those in need. This is a tough one because like again, like how do you define usually? Like most of the time I don't like help like I spend the vast majority of my time not doing that.
Exactly. I felt like honestly I should keep it at neutral because I don't like I feel like I'm making some sort of judgment that's not really what it's asking. Like you say, most of my time I'm not helping people. Like I'm not out there at soup kitchens or whatever, you know.
I do what I want and do not feel particularly obliged to anyone. I would say that's like one disagree for me.
Yeah. Yeah, probably me too.
Cheating isn't justified because it's unfair to others. Like, yeah, right. Like almost by definition, but like.
But I saw a funny tweet the other day that said, isn't it crazy that until John Rawls, people believed that justice was unfairness? Did you see that?
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, I might have been put lower on this because cheating doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, that's true. It bothers me more. Others regard me as good-hearted and well-meaning. I'm going to say agree to that.
Yeah, I think so. We could be so wrong about how people view us, but I think I like to think that people think that about me.
Like that's why we can get away with some of the shit, like a horrible shit that we say. I feel justified in doing whatever I can to succeed.
To completely disagree. I think.
Yeah. Also not that like motivated to succeed, period.
Exactly. That's what's driving it.
Yeah. It's not just.
I will do whatever I can to not do a next thing.
Yeah. I am intent on kindness and cooperation. This is just like a meaningless question. Like, what does that mean to be intent on kindness and cooperation? This is like.
How about if it's asking you of your values? Do you think kindness and cooperation are near the top?
I guess kindness, cooperation. If like I'd rather like not be on the committee.
Yeah, I think I'm a hard agree on these, but like based on my.
I'm going to be neutral on that. I keep track of sensitive information that can be used to hurt people at a later date.
Okay, this one kind of fucked with me because I don't feel like I do that at all.
I don't either.
But I do feel like I do have that information. Like I've always felt like I could pull something out that would really hurt someone. I wouldn't want to do it, but so I don't feel like I'm a collector.
Really?
I'm not a collector of it, but I know how to hurt people's feelings.
I thought it meant like photos of them like fucking like a teenager or something like that.
I only have pictures of me.
With teenagers.
No, just of me.
Yeah, but I don't think it's like keep track makes it seem like you're storing this thing for like blackmail or something like that.
Right.
Like
it's just if you have a good memory.
Generally speaking, I'd rather buy myself a little something extra than donate to charity. Again, this is a tough question because most of the time that's what we do.
Being honest with myself, I had to do a hard agree on this because like just behaviorally, the amount of things that I buy for myself versus spend on charity. Like I can't in good conscience say.
Yeah. I have an excessive need for stimulation and am prone to boredom. What did you put? This was it. Yeah.
I disagreed. I can get bored, but I actually can be easily entertained, as probably listeners know. Like
just throw on Deadwood.
Exactly.
Yeah. I trick and con people if it is my interest to do so. No. I don't.
Never.
I feel like this whole thing is one long con that you've pulled off on me. I obey those laws and rules that seem sensible to me. No.
I mean, I do, but I also
only
obey.
obey.
Yeah,
I
okay.
only obey.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Even if I were trying very hard to sell something, I wouldn't lie to get my way. Yeah, I wouldn't.
I would never lie to you. Yeah.
I frighten others to get what I want.
I don't think I'm capable of that.
No, I don't either. Like they would just laugh. They'd
Yeah.
crack up. I often worry that I might behave inappropriately. This was a funny one because it's like, I definitely think I might behave inappropriately, but I'm not sure I feel worried about it.
Yeah, that's a good distinction. I'd put a 1 agree on that because in my moments of lucidity, I can start worrying.
Right.
But
Is this predictive, or are you saying that it like distresses you?
I kind of don't care. If I cared that much, I wouldn't.
So
like,
1 agree then?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
Helping-
good to be worried a little bit. It keeps
Yeah.
me from being more inappropriate.
Yeah, oh man, I want to see that. Helping others out by doing good deeds is its own reward. I mean, I'm going to agree in spite of the clichéness of it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm often worried that my actions are deserving of criticism. I'd say 1 disagree.
Me too.
I think I'm less worried than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like not that's purely descriptive rather than normative. Like
right.
it
They might be
that
worthy
I
of
ought to.
criticism, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not worried. No.
I'm oblivious to that.
Then
I use tricky plans and schemes to get my way. Definitely not.
who wrote this? Like a psychiatrist from 1945.
It's like Ocean's 11 or something. You know, like,
Get the blueprints. Why? I have a tricky scheme.
I hard disagree. I'm not good at coming up with tricky plans and schemes. I do not feel guilty when I hurt or offend someone. I'm going to do like hard disagree, but I feel like you might be even more disagree.
Yeah,
This is the problem with a, 5-point scale,
Yeah. Hard to disagree.
Oh God.
What did you get?
This time, oh fuck. So last time I was, right now I am so clearly in good and lawful. Like just very good. Only like 3 things, 72.5% good, but 64.2% lawful.
I think, and this is why I think it's interesting to take it both together, because I was lawful neutral when I took it by myself. I think that something happens when we take it together. Our answers, we either influence each other or we're doing some form of self-presentation.
Yeah.
But
right.
were you
Doing it
lawful neutral
publicly.
before?
Let me look. I was 6. I was less good. So that's interesting. Like you were saying, I was 64.2% good and I was only 26.7% lawful.
So what are you? True neutral? What was your score last time? I mean, what was your category?
Oh, neutral good. It said neutral good. That's better.
That's what I was. I was neutral good. Yeah. Sorry.
Not neutral.
Not
lawful.
whatever I said lawful. Yeah, I was neutral good.
This is not reliable.
Well, this is, why you take these privately. Okay, neutral good archetype from Wikipedia. A neutral good character typically acts altruistically without regard for or against lawful precepts such as rules or tradition. A neutral good character has no problems with cooperating with lawful officials but does not feel beholden to them. In the event that doing the right thing requires the bending or breaking of rules, they do not suffer the same inner conflict that a lawful good character would. Chaotic good, what we wanted to be, was chaotic good character does what is necessary to bring about change for the better, disdains bureaucratic organizations that get in the way of social improvement,
See, that's just so me.
and places a high value on personal freedom, not only for oneself, but for others as well. Chaotic good characters usually intend to do the right thing, but their methods are generally disorganized and often out of sync with the rest of society.
This just like is describing me to a T.
And then, at least we're not evil. So I'm going to read just because we're going to talk about evil. Let's read lawful evil. A lawful evil character sees a well-ordered system as being easier to exploit than to necessarily follow. Examples of this alignment include tyrants, devils, corrupt officials, undiscriminating mercenary types who have a strict code of conduct. And then blue dragons and hobgoblins, which is again not the Those hobgoblins.
Any theory of evil must capture the hobgoblin aspect of evil.
Chaotic evil character tends to have no respect for rules, other people's lives, or anything but their own desires, which are typically selfish and cruel. They set a high value on personal freedom, but do not have much regard for the lives or freedom of other people. Chaotic evil characters do not work well in groups because they resent being given orders and usually do not behave themselves unless there is no alternative.
I identify, like you said, as chaotic.
As chaotic,
and like whatever. I think I just answered like too many questions, like I give a shit about rules or something like that.
Yeah.
That's really like I'm. It's no rules for this.
Just take
Like
it
a
again until
maverick.
you get the score you want. You're a maverick. Yeah.
I play by my own rule. The stupid chief is trying to like.
Chaotic good. Examples of chaotic good include copper dragons, many elves, and unicorns. So there you go.
Unicorns are chaotic good. Like I didn't realize they had that kind of personality.
I'm
Or, like,
curious
a
what most
personality.
people are. I'm curious what listeners take this. We'll put a link to it.
Yeah.
Listeners can take it and let us know.
Let
who
us
you are.
know.
Does anybody come out evil? I guess
Probably not.
Probably.
But I bet people come out less good than us because they're more
they are.
probably honest about like
about the shit they do, about
Yeah.
collecting things in order to get back at people.
we all have our little safes, our safe deposit boxes.
Well, that's what Twitter is nowadays. All it is a way to go and for other people insert things that they can use against you at a future time.
Do you like delete your tweets? I don't do that.
I did. I didn't never used to, but like something got into me the other day, like a couple months ago, and I deleted like most of my tweets. Not because I think there's anything wrong in there. I just don't want to be surprised.
I've deleted all my apps tracking my menstrual cycle.
Okay, let's just go to break.
All right, we'll be right back to talk about evil.
We laugh to keep from crying. This episode of Very Bad Wizards is brought to you by our longtime sponsor, BetterHelp Online Therapy. If you're like me, like a lot of us, you might fall into this trap. You spend a whole lot of time taking care of the things in your life, like your car, your house, your pets, even other human beings in your life. The amount of energy and time that you might spend making sure that all of those things are okay sometimes is disproportionate to the amount of time that you spend taking care of yourself. And your mental health is something that you really should put just as much effort into. I know for a fact that BetterHelp Online Therapy is a great way to get that process started. If you don't know by now, BetterHelp is an online therapy service that provides therapy over video chats, phone calls, even text or chat only therapy sessions. You don't have to see anybody on camera. You don't have to be physically present to get the therapy. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy. And really what you do when you sign up is you just tell them a bit about yourself and why you're looking for therapy, and they'll match you with a therapist. Importantly, and unlike, say, traditional therapy, where you find one therapist in your town and you are kind of stuck with them for a while, if you don't like the therapist that's been assigned to you, you can ask them to switch. They're really there to provide help for you as best as they can. If you're considering doing some form of therapy, may we suggest that you give BetterHelp Online Therapy a try. And if you're a listener of Very Bad Wizards, you'll get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/VBW. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/VBW. Our thanks to BetterHelp Online Therapy for sponsoring this episode of Very Bad Wizards.
your dunks. Get that out your hand, punk. Jump and get that out your hand, punk. Jump and get your dunk smacked.
Welcome back to Very Bad Wizards. This is that time of the show where we love to talk to you personally, look into your eyes and say thank you for the support that you've given us.
We know where you live. We're all of you live. And so
can you feel our look right now?
We're watching you.
The male gaze. Thank you especially for being part of this community and contacting us. If you want to do so, you can email us verybadwizards@gmail.com, or you can tweet to us at Tamler, at Peas, or at verybadwizards. You can join the lively discussions that take place on Reddit, reddit.com/r/verybadwizards, where we really appreciate that community. And you, in our first attempt at recording this, you mentioned one particular post.
Oh God, it was so nice.
Yeah, that was go ahead.
Well, it was that we, I guess in the Ivan Illich episode, I think, said, like, have we, like, kind of wasted our life doing this podcast or something? Or it was in the context of Flow. I don't remember. But they said, I know they were joking, but, like, here's what this podcast has given me. And I think it, like, and, like, a lot of people chimed in with why the podcast was worthwhile to them. It was very nice.
It meant a lot to me to read. To us. So thank you. You can also follow us on Instagram and see our new episodes posted. You can please rate us on Apple Podcasts and maybe even leave a review. Tell a friend about the podcast. Well, a friend that you think might like it, not a friend who you think might hate it.
Well, you could tell them.
You could tell them too. And you can listen to us or subscribe on Spotify, and that probably helps something or other.
And if you want to support us in even more tangible ways than that, all the communication and all of that is so heartwarming and is a form of support, but a more tangible form of support can be found on the support page at verybadwizards.com. There's a bunch of different things you can do. You can buy some swag. You can give us a one-time or recurring donation on PayPal, or you could become one of our beloved Patreon supporters. We really appreciate that's where our bread is buttered, and we really appreciate all that they do and their generosity. And we try to give back a little bit, a small token of our appreciation. Depending on the tier, at $1 and up per episode, you get ad-free episodes plus 6 volumes of Dave's Beats, which are awesome. I love all of them. And then at $2 and up, you're in bonus episode territory, where we give a bunch of bonus episodes. You'll have a whole back catalog of them, plus a monthly Ask Us Anything that we've started posting. And should we announce this right now? We are thinking of doing something, and we're not sure what tier or whether this will even be Patreon or how it will come out, but something about Deadwood, like an in-depth episode by episode recap, like a whole series on the show Deadwood. This is because we're both we're about to have Matt Zoller Seitz, we think, coming on to talk about his new book, The Deadwood Bible, and that just got us back into the show, watching it again, and it's so phenomenal and so brilliant, and I think it would be really worthwhile for us to dig into it in like great detail. And if you're somebody who's never seen it or who has seen it but wants to rewatch it, you could watch along with us as we give the recaps. I think that could be really fun.
Yeah, feel free to let us know, actually.
If you would be interested, yeah. Oh, the $5. It's like, what? I
You're
just
like,
talked
I'm
for so
done.
long.
I'm done.
I'm done. Like,
sipping
time to
his
go
wine.
drink. At the $5 and up level, you get to vote on the listener-selected episode, and you get access to our 5-part series on the Brothers Karamazov, another series like the one we're thinking of doing, and it's something we're really proud of. We go part by part through the Brothers Karamazov. At $10 and up, you get our monthly Ask Us Anything videos. So you get to ask us questions, and we're about to record one right now. Just after we finish this. And we'll post a video with our responses to you and also an audio version. Plus, you get everything from all the other tiers as well. So, thanks to all of you at whatever level of support you are at right now. It means the world to us. Thank you.
Thanks.
We are now going to turn our attention to evil. It's a topic that you have been sort of spearheading, and I have been, I don't know, a little hesitant about because of just the vastness of it. And I think also because I am very emotionally troubled by reading accounts of what people call evil. But it's we have a couple of essays that have some interesting stuff in it. What was it about this topic, though, that you found so interesting?
What is it about evil that attracts me?
Yeah, what is it about evil that attracts you?
So tasty. Well, I think that part of it is that I was raised with a kind of religious worldview where evil is personified and it is existent and it is part of what humans have to overcome, and in some way, like, bad things that happen to the world are attributed to the presence of evil forces. So, like, that's always been in the back of my mind.
There's a fight between evil and good.
Yeah, in fact, in the Seventh-day Adventist theology, the central conflict that explains the problem of evil, which is not what we're going to talk about today, and the answer is that the evil Satan and the good God are fighting it out to show the rest of the universe, like, what's the better way to go. And it's kind of funny to think, like, that there is somebody who's saying, like, no, God, evil is the right answer. He's like a comic book villain being like,
yeah. And I guess which themselves are built on old myths,
right,
including like biblical myths. So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, right. And then there's just the question of whether we had ever talked about evil on this podcast, and we realized we hadn't. I was like, this just seems like something we should do. Now, it might go terribly because, as you say, like, it's heavy on conceptual analysis, the articles that we chose to read, but it does seem like it's something that we should talk about. But is evil a concept that you ever gave any thought to? Like, is it something that you think is something that exists, or is it just like a handy way of saying really bad?
Yeah, no, I do think, like, I'm on the side of the view that there is something a little categorically different about evil people or evil actions. I'd never given it a lot of thought, and I'd never struggled with the existence of evil as such, as opposed to just the existence of all these horrific evil actions and people. But I do think that, just purely intuitively, there's something about an evil character. There's a kind of sadism. Their intentions are set up in a way, and the things they do are just beyond anything I could conceive of myself as doing. You can't get into the headspace of how somebody could do these things. Never mind, like, take pleasure in doing them. So, like, that always seemed to me to be like evil, as opposed to just something that's really wrong. Right. And definitely also not something I would do, but something I can at least, like, I feel like we're the same species,
Yeah. Like, there's like, I'm capable of plenty bad, but usually it's because I have weakness of will or something like that, or ignorance, or right. Part of what also has always bugged me is that the social psychology tradition that I kind of came up in is very fond of, and we've talked plenty about this situationist critique of character, is always very fond of saying, well, it's a huge mistake to attribute evil to anybody because it really isn't their fault, which we can talk about whether culpability has anything to do with evil. Right. But it's like, the idea has always been, it's very easy for you to make the kind of dispositional attributions to other people for actions that you yourself would realize if you committed them were just due to the situation, right? Or whatever.
Like the Milgram kind of case. Yeah. But there are, like doing something like, shocking the person to death is because a scientist tells you to is still categorically different than some of the things that people do that we get described in vivid detail in these papers.
Oh my God. Yeah. One of the papers. So we read a paper by a philosopher named Marcus Singer called The Concept of Evil, which we'll link to. And then one by Daniel Hebron called Moral Monsters and Saints. The Singer paper, I had to just skip over reading. Like I was like, I don't need any more examples.
Yeah, it's just a litany of like one more excruciatingly, like shockingly awful than the last.
The Milgram stuff ties into one of the things that you put in our Slack, which was an article on Hannah Arendt. Is that how you pronounce it?
I think so, yeah. Hannah Arendt.
The banality of evil, because that's what social psychology was sort of taking itself to argue, which was, no, you think evil exists, and of course Hitler and Nazi Germany feels like the ultimate evil, but what's even more disheartening is that no, those were all just regular people like you, that there was no evil to be found, which I think is maybe a misreading, at least
of Hannah Arendt.
Of Hannah Arendt, yeah.
Because I don't think she was saying we would all be Eichmann. Like, I think her point is he's a very boring kind of person. Like, he's not very smart. He was just ambitious and wanted to do his duty in a way that would result in like his success. He wasn't like a complete sociopath. He didn't take pleasure in it. She says, and there's debate about this, that he didn't have anything like specially against Jews, like he didn't have some special hatred for Jews.
Right.
He's
a pencil pusher.
He was a pencil pusher, yeah. And like a lot of people aren't pencil pushers in this way, and I don't think that she was doing something with the situationist. We're saying exactly, but both of them are deflating like what it means to be an evil person and like, how much we're all complicit in it too.
Right. And here's the thing that seems motivating to people who want to talk about or to like defend this notion of evil, which is it seems as if we should have a category for that kind of person. Why? Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, right.
But like, I guess we can start talking about some of the arguments in these papers. So Daniel Hebron says one of the things we alluded to before, which was that he says it's a natural, intuitive, and he thinks defensible thing to say that sure, there are bad things, there are immoral people and actions. He's focused on people, like evil people and character. Says, but no matter how many very, very varies you add in front of the word bad, there is something about an evil character that seems qualitatively different. And so he wants to defend this notion of evil as being different than just being extra wrong. Because as he says, if it's just very bad, then our current theories about what it means to be bad are fine. Like all you need to do is add some sort of like severity. And you could just say, all right, like Hitler was just really, really bad. Pol Pot was really, really bad. And then that intuition there, again, is what I found undermined by the end of these two articles for me. But I take it that people do want, like, there's something disrespectful about not calling Hitler evil.
Well, yeah, if not disrespectful, like, I mean, maybe, I know a lot of people think that, and, they get upset if you don't call, like, what the Nazis did evil. Like, I've struggled to figure out what this debate turns on, like, what are the stakes of it? What are the truth makers of it? Both of them say we need to have this concept of evil that's categorically different than, like the spectrum of morally wrong and morally right. But what determines whether their accounts of what evil is successful? Like, because sometimes they're like, well, it has to accord with common usage. But then in the paper you're talking about is like, well, this doesn't accord with common usage, but it does, like, upon reflection. It's like, what exactly is going on here? Like, what exactly are we debating?
In some ways, this was a microcosm of a general problem that arises for any paper on conceptual analysis, which is, okay, so there's this lay concept of evil. And just like you say, if you say evil is something and that something has nothing to do with how people use the term evil, then clearly, like, well, you're just not like that. That's a completely different concept. Like, who knows what you're talking about? You want it to preserve some of the ways in which we use the term evil, but then you would think, well, why not then just ask people what they think evil is?
Just like Josh Knobe handout.
Yeah. And so I take it. And so I got in a discussion with Nikki about this and like the whole reflective equilibrium, where I think, like, let's take Hebron. So he says, okay, here are the theories that people have proposed for what it might mean to be an evil person. Roughly, you have harm-based theories that say, okay, people who bring about a lot of harm, those are evil people. And he I think there's good reason he dismisses that. He says, no, because there are all kinds of ways in which somebody could bring about harm accidentally or for good reasons that we wouldn't want to call evil. So he thinks this is like a non-starter.
So when he says we wouldn't want to, it's like it could mean a bunch of different things. It could mean we wouldn't want to because we have some sort of moral goal in mind. It could mean we wouldn't want to just because it sounds kind of counterintuitive. Or he could mean we wouldn't want to because that's not really the nature of evil.
Yeah.
And it's like always a little unclear to me, like which of those.
It's a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B.
Yeah.
So here's one way of thinking about what he's saying there. He's go and ask people, what are examples of evil people? And then go and ask them about people like, imagine Joe pressed a button by mistake and killed 1 million people. Is Joe evil? And there, I think he thinks that people are deploying an intuitive concept of evil that they might not have a theory about, but our theory should
almost
at least,
definitely don't.
They don't have a theory about. It's pre-theoretical for them, but nonetheless, there is structure to what they say, and what we want to do is uncover that structure. And that structure, he thinks, can't be that evil corresponds to just doing harm. Because people would disagree.
Which is totally true, right? It's just enough to say it's just unintuitive to call every person who does harm is evil.
Is like evil, right?
Yeah.
And that meshes with my intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And he says, okay, then some people say, well, the evil person is the person who has evil motives, like someone who is prone to do evil acts, so motivated to do evil, which, like, I'm not sure.
But like, what does that mean?
I don't know. So this is where I start getting a bit confused, because don't we now need a theory of evil acts in order to say that a person is prone to do it? Charitably, let's say what he means is somebody who walks around wanting to do the harmful things that they either do or don't end up doing. So he might take harm as like, well, there's something to it. Like, evil people do harmful things. So if you walk around trying to cause harm to people who don't deserve it, then you're an evil person.
Again, that could be like the first one in terms of it would capture way too much. Like, it's not that you want to do harm to people for some other gain to you, right? It has to be that you want to do harm to people because it'll cause them harm, or otherwise it's the same problem as the last one.
Yeah. Well, Singer has like a little typology of this. Like,
we can get to that with Singer. This is why I like Singer's approach better, because even though maybe it was hard to stomach some of his examples, they were being at least tied in some ways to what we're talking about.
And I think it's fair to say, I think this is in the back of their mind the whole time, which is maybe reserving the term evil for certain kinds of people is actually a useful thing for society. Right? Like, this is a concept that we don't want to abandon just because it's hard to find the whatever necessary sufficient conditions to. But like, there's a, you know it when you see it, and we don't want to abandon it just because it's hard to like define what.
Figure out to come up with necessary and sufficient conditions. Like, so we're talking about, for the motive one, to have like an evil will in contrast to the Kantian goodwill who likes to do good for the sake of good. I think in this case, and he hasn't defined what evil, like what it is to do an evil act. But the point is, if he delights in performing a harmful act that has a certain moral gravity to that, and if the person is not animated by understandable considerations, this gets to the and I don't know if the paper agrees with this, but this gets to something that I think is what, kind of closer to my understanding of evil, like how I categorize it is they're not doing it for like some greater good, even if even in their own perverted like mind, they don't think this is a good thing. Like there are people who might do something just purely out of just like they think it's right, but their sense of what's right and wrong has been so perverted. But they're really doing it because they think it's a good outcome. And then whereas an evil person is actually delighted by the fact that what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the term delight here is something that ends up, I think, being better described as his affective theory.
Yeah.
Where there is both to want to do things because they're wrong, and maybe just because they're wrong, or at least not caring that they're wrong. And then there is the emotion that you have about doing it. And so he ends up coming to this sort of like this what he calls them like a hybrid affective motivational view, which seems pretty straightforward to me, which is that if you want to do a bad thing and you like it, then we can call you evil and distinguish you from merely bad.
And one thing but this other aspect of it also, that you're not animated by understandable considerations.
Yeah.
Is important. And then also it does seem like he has this, like, I guess one of the more interesting parts of this idea is it's like you can't have other parts of your character that are good. Yeah. So he talks about Tony Soprano here, who's like maybe done some evil things, maybe delighted in doing some really bad things, but also has a really good side, with his family. He loves Meadow,
Yeah.
He has like a conscience in a lot of aspects, even in the mob side of it. And so like, that's why he's not evil.
Yeah. It's a good little passage. So I'm going to read it. There's no reason to suppose that the typical Nazi war criminal, for instance, could not also have been a true friend and loving companion to some. Insofar as that is true, then those individuals were not evil, they truly had a good side. Our inclination to call them evil depends on the fact that that side of their characters is neither apparent nor particularly salient from our usual perspective. Were we fully appraised not only of their worst acts, but also their best, if we knew about them what their loved ones know, it is unlikely that we would continue to feel comfortable in calling them evil. This, I have argued, is what makes the lead character of the television series of The Sopranos, Tony Soprano, so confounding. Ordinarily, we might see no difficulty in totally condemning such a mobster, but the show, which focuses on his home life, reveals too much of a complex character to permit us that comfort. There's a descriptive question as to then whether anybody is truly evil. And then there's the conceptual question about, well, doesn't matter whether or not it obtains, but like somebody. But very plausibly, like this account wouldn't include like most people who were complicit, say, in the genocide of really anybody. They talk about Rwanda too, and there were plenty of people that I'm sure just had these other lives where they were, caring, good fathers, all of that. Yeah,
and it's like, so then they're not evil. But then, see, at this point, it's like, the more you know about them, the less comfortable you are calling them evil. It's like, well, I don't know. If they go to work in a concentration camp and are just like torturing and humiliating like children, it's like, yeah, even if they are like really good husbands the other time, I'd still say they're evil.
Yeah, there is this is another part of the stuff that started getting to me about the conceptual analysis is the use of terms like to be evil is, on my view, to be consistently vicious in the following sense.
Yeah.
One is not aligned with the good to a morally significant extent. And it's like, now you're just baking it into what significant is. Like, but don't you need to explain what significant is? I think I like put in the margin, like, what are you talking, like 3%?
The whole point of this is to like make more precise our like understanding of evil. And this is like the exact opposite of that. It couldn't be a more vague definition.
I have, by the way, in the Stanford Encyclopedia article, there's a sentence that got me so angry, or a couple sentences that got me so angry that I felt like you when it came to analytic philosophy. Okay, yeah, here it is. Okay, watch. Eve Gerard and Luke Russell also point out that even if the concept of evil cannot provide a complete explanation for the performance of an action, it can provide a partial explanation. So as an aside, they're talking about whether evil is useful as a causal theory, like to
Yeah,
say that someone did it.
it's an eviltive virtue. It's like,
Yes. So it says, for instance, Gerard argues that evil actions result from a particular kind of motivation. Call this an e-motivation. Thus, to say that an action is evil is to say that it has resulted from an e-motivation. This provides a partial explanation for why the action was performed. But how is that? That is snake oil. They're selling us snake oil. They're saying words that have the guise of adding explanation.
this is our version of p hacking. It's like,
Let's call this e-hacking. It has the allure of adding something to the debate.
I will say, like, the other paper, I don't think is as bad when it comes to some of this stuff. Like, it has other issues. It's extremely, extremely long-winded.
It really is. So let's talk about it.
Today's episode is brought to you by 80,000 Hours. Look, hopefully after listening to this episode, you've decided you don't want to devote your life to accomplishing evil. But maybe you actually want to pursue a career that does real good, that makes a significant positive impact and makes the world a better place. I mean, we could all use that right now. The world needs a bit of help. Well, you have 80,000 hours in your career. That's 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year. I mean, hopefully your job will give you a little more than just 2 weeks off per year. And for 40 years. The point is, that's a lot of time. And it means that your career is probably going to be your biggest opportunity to help improve the world. 80,000 Hours website has so many great resources to help you find a career that's fulfilling for you and one that can make a significant impact on the world. They have a series of guides outlining global priorities, career strategies, and personal fit, which kinds of careers will suit you the best. 80,000 Hours is a nonprofit organization. All of their great research is absolutely free. Join their newsletter and they'll send you a free in-depth guide that aims to take you through the steps all the way to a concrete career plan. They also host a job board with nearly 1,000 currently open high-impact career opportunities, and they offer free one-on-one advice on how to help you switch paths. They even have their own podcast. They're coming after us, I guess. The 80,000 Hours podcasts, which hosts unusually in-depth conversations with people like Toby Ord, Cass Sunstein, Will McCaskill, I think, was on there, and a lot more on how best to tackle pressing global problems. Join that newsletter now. Get their free copy of their in-depth guide sent to your inbox. Just sign up at 80,000hours.org/wizards. And again, just to be clear, they're a nonprofit. Everything they provide is free, always. Fully philanthropically funded. Their only goal is to help you find a fulfilling, high-impact career. To get started planning that career, sign up now, 80,000hours.org/wizards. Once again, 80,000hours.org/wizards. Thanks to 80,000 Hours for sponsoring this episode.
I wanted to ask you, I was thinking about the term evil. And as I think we always should ask ourselves, is this just a language game? And
Yeah.
I was thinking of it in the context of the word for evil in other languages. And I thought to myself, in Spanish, what would I say for evil? And it's just bad. It's mal. And I think in French, it's the same.
Yeah. And they don't have like a
No.
like a different word as far as I know.
As far as I could find, and I also asked Nikki, and it seems like there are words that you can have for like a person with bad character.
Yeah.
But
is it a Protestant concept then?
I don't know. I'm very curious as to say in biblical Hebrew if this is a fleshed out word that's different from morally bad. It is weird because it starts the Hebron paper starts with this like, well, here's what's motivating me. We're sure, right, that there is, no matter how many varies you add before bad, there is this separate category of evil. And I was like, well, are we sure? What is the downside of saying, no, there's just like real bad shit?
This is where the terms of this debate and what's at stake are confusing to me. I think sometimes it seems like people are just saying, look, we do have the, like, as in ordinary language, when we talk amongst each other, like when we call things evil, we mean something that is different than just really, really, really fucking bad. And so, like, in thinking about it, reflecting on it, we should try to figure out, what is that cluster of things that we're referring to? And then, then there's other people who might think it's actually like morally wrong for us to not have this separate category because maybe, we're more motivated to prevent evil or something. Or if we don't call the Nazis evil, then we're like, I don't know, condoning it to some extent, or we're not going to fight against it as strongly next time or something like that. So I think both of those things are at play here. And then there are some people who just think, no, this is an actual thing. Yeah. And we just need to uncover what that is. So they have a more Platonic kind of conception.
Yeah. And they might even, if you have a supernatural, like if you think that sort of evil has gotten into you because like there's the influence, like the influence of supernatural powers that are making you do evil. I found the whole like, well, we don't want to abandon it because then we might be extra vigilant for like these kinds of really bad actions. Like, I don't think we need any extra vigilance, to be honest. But it was funny to read the encyclopedia, the Stanford Encyclopedia has the first section talks about evil skepticism versus evil revivalism. And I like the idea of like being in like a tent, like chanting about it.
Here's something that I think is behind. So something like the Rwandan genocide, which everybody, this is something Singer talks about a lot. It's like something that everybody knew about and we were just kind of watching it happen. And it was as brutal and horrific and just cruel and devastating as the other big genocides. And we watched it happen. And so it's like, well, is that because we don't have a strong enough understanding of what evil is? And so we let it happen. We allowed it to take place. And I just think that would be a very naive view of why countries intervene and why they don't. I don't think that's really what is driving those kinds of decisions, in spite of the rhetoric that's, axis of evil and all of that. Like, I think that's just rhetoric.
Yeah, that's evidence for some evil skeptics who want to say, well, no, like if we keep holding on to this concept, what it does is it just makes it easy to vilify whoever it is we want to by calling them evil.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that's also naive on the other side. Like, I don't think it matters either way.
Calling him the axis of evil helped garner support for.
I think probably like material and other economic considerations were definitely a lot more have
from the decision makers for sure, but maybe from us letting it happen.
I mean, maybe, like, who knows? Like, that's an empirical question, you know. There's probably times where it does matter either way,
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read the Singer that I found it. The term evil is the worst term of opprobrium that can be applied to a human being. And the concept, in my conception of it, applies primarily to persons and organizations, secondarily to conduct and practices. Evil deeds must flow from evil motives, the volition to do something evil, by which I mean something horrendously bad. There's another part where I was like, he kept saying, what I mean by that is something horrendously bad. And I was like, well, what is
But that's the action, I think. That's just like one aspect of the action. It has to be horrendously bad. And then there's all these other aspects too that it needs to have.
One cannot do something evil by accident or through thoughtlessness. Through accident or misadventure, one can do something wrong or bad, even terrible, but not something evil. So when we say someone did something evil, we are saying something about that person, that person's motives, and consequently about that person's character. To me, when I introspect on the times that I want to reserve the term evil and why it would be so hard to say it about somebody I knew, is because I'm fine reserving the term for people who seem to be devoid of any moral sense, like a psychopath who is completely callous to the suffering of others. But that's about it. So I guess I would reserve it for people.
I guess I disagree. So let's look at his actual definition, which he gives, I think, on page 13. An evil action is one so bad, so awful, so horrendous that no ordinary, decent, reasonable human being can conceive of himself or herself doing such a thing. And an evil person or organization is one who knowingly performs, wills, or orders such actions, or remains indifferent to them when performed by another in a situation where one could do something to stop. Here's where I think all his litany of just terrible examples is illustrative at the very least, because, so let me just read a couple of them. On October 1978, a man named Lawrence Singleton offered to take a 15-year-old girl, Mary Vincent, from Berkeley to Los Angeles. On the way, she fell asleep, and after she fell asleep, he took her to a canyon in Nevada where he beat her, threw her in the back of the pickup truck, ripped off her clothes, tied her hands, raped her several times, later dragged her from the truck, held her hands down, and chopped them off with his hatchet. He chopped it 3 times. The blood was spurting all over. She was tossed over a guardrail, stuffed into a culvert, and left for dead, but somehow she didn't die. And then he talks about like the James Byrd, horrible, like 1998, where they dragged him face down on the rear of a truck just because he was black. It was a very famous case at that time. And then, then I'll also talk about the rape of Nanking. What this suggests to me, because I think all these things, like those are people I would definitely say are evil. It gets to the kind of, like I could not in a million years conceive of myself as doing something like that. Like it's so beyond what I would be capable of that it really does seem like this has to be another kind of like species of person. And I guess these are kind of the same thing, but they seem to like that about it. They love how like horrible it is.
Yeah. But isn't that what I was saying?
Well, because I guess... But maybe some of these people also like have like normal familial affections and even will perform obligations or something like that. So they're not fully sociopathic. I mean, I guess.
I see what you're saying. I meant the sociopath as like a paradigm example of somebody who is not who. In fact, the psychopath might not even fit it always because they might be motivated by purely pragmatic reasons and never actually harm somebody, or they might not be sadistic. I guess I meant people who truly take delight in doing the thing for the sake of harm.
And then, so then maybe we completely agree.
Yeah. I do like that Singer seems willing to say, so he over and over again in this paper uses these like almost hyperbolic language of horrendous and terrible, and you couldn't even imagine engaging in it. I don't know that that's doing like rigorous conceptual work, but it is at least giving us that sort of deep emotional sense of what kind of person this is, which I'm fine with. And he's fine with saying, so by evil, I mean somebody who's so far on the continuum of bad that we're now calling them evil. So, and that's something that Hebron doesn't seem to want to be able to. He doesn't want to say. He wants to reserve it as categorically different. I think that makes less sense than just saying, like, there are some people who are so bad, and by so bad, it's probably because they seem to take delight in a way that most human beings can't imagine.
And also the things they do are so horrific. I remember recently being in Romania and going to the Elie Wiesel Museum and seeing the pictures of the concentration camp he came out of, and the way these like Nazis are just standing by while all these people are tortured and suffering and obviously killed by the hundreds every day. And it's like, maybe they didn't delight in doing it. Maybe they didn't rub their hands together and take like a sick thrill out of it. But it's still, the scope of what they're doing is still unimaginable. Like that you can go to work, and you can like live with yourself like that way. That just seems also evil, even if they might have had a little qualm about it. Now, of course, this opens the door for like the fact that we're doing this about, factory farms or like just complicit in all the like horrible things that the U.S. has done in the last,
Yeah.
But it's not like one of the things, America is very good at is keeping it out of our like sight.
Yeah.
And
to the extent that I guess I don't have so much a problem saying, those Nazis who were just standing there posing in front of like piles of bodies were evil. So what if they went home and loved their kids? And so what if they donated to charities? I'm okay calling those people evil. And I think when Hebron brings up the example of Tony Soprano, I think he's wrong about why it's difficult to call Tony Soprano evil. I think it's difficult because in some measure we develop affection for him. Not because I somehow have a problem saying that he's a monster. It's just that the only problem I have is one of like an interpersonal relationship that you've made me develop with him. So if you were to just say, okay, feelings aside, is Tony Soprano an evil person? I'd be like, yeah, he's pretty fucking evil. And that's the reason that show is compelling, is you've made me kind of like an evil person.
Yeah, I would read it a little differently. I think he's not evil because the things that he does aren't at the threshold of what I would call evil. He doesn't seem to delight in doing wrong just because it's wrong, or even but he will just do what it takes for himself and his family and his group to succeed and make money. So he's selfish and he will cause violence and suffering to achieve those ends. But that to me seems like not quite evil. And yes, everything else that you're saying is true. You develop an affection for him because, I think he's, he has these vulnerabilities and he has this really good side, and he's loyal. And he's not like Ralphie or somebody,
Okay.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that guy is more evil than Tony is.
So this depends on, I guess, the reading of the show or of the character. But there is one thing that makes me always snaps me back. And that is that throughout the series, the times when Tony is smiling the most is when he's beating the shit out of somebody. Sure, he's like, the opening scene when they're driving, they're trying to collect money from the guy, and they're driving a car and they run him over. Sure, it's a means to an end of collecting money from somebody who owes him money. But he has this grin on his face when he's in, it's like, it's his flow. Like his flow is when he's doing that. And that's what snaps me back to remembering, just because he's nice to Meadow doesn't mean that if you're at the receiving end of those blows that you wouldn't see a monster in front of you.
No, totally. It's rare though that he does it to a civilian or an innocent, pure innocent person. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, with Deadwood, because we're about to, we think we're going to have Matt Zoller Seitz, who's just came out with a book called The Deadwood Bible that we're both very excited about. We think we're going to have him on next. Deadwood, someone like Al is, he's does some pretty bad things in the early episodes, but not only would you not call him evil, I think I might call him fundamentally, or at least, ultimately good to some extent.
Al is an interesting case where I also agree with you. He has the interests of the camp in mind, and he is doing a lot of this for the sake of the opportunities for other people, the community.
Yeah.
And that really separates him from Cy Tolliver, who is introduced kind of as his foil. I think the third or fourth episode, who doesn't seem to care about anybody other than himself.
And yet I wouldn't call him an evil character. He's definitely a really bad guy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't call him evil. I would say there's two potentially evil characters. But do you disagree with me about Cy? My reason isn't that interesting. I just don't, he's too small time to be evil in the way. His wrongs are more kind of violent, sordid, definitely horrible, but I don't know, it doesn't seem to cross the evil threshold.
Right. So I think what you're getting at when you say that is there's something about magnitude that matters.
I think a lot.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't have to be total harm, but it has to be some combination of just how horrific what they're doing is and the harm, and how much sum total of harm is being done.
I think Cy is morally more callous than most any other character, except for the ones you're probably thinking of on the show. And I think that if we were to see all of the things that he's done, in particular, I'm thinking of when he kills remember the two kids? One of them is
oh God, yeah, Kristen Bell.
Yeah, Kristen Bell and her whatever brother. There is where what I thought of as his most evil side comes
his
out.
sadism comes out.
Yeah.
Because normally he's just doing it for his selfish ends.
And he's also like whooped by Joni so much that sometimes he's just like, he's just pitiful.
Right. There's a kind of like, Tony has this to some extent, like because he's emotionally vulnerable, if you have that kind of vulnerability, it almost makes you less evil in some sense.
Right. So,
because it puts you more in the realm of the human, I guess.
Yeah. And the moment we start seeing ourselves, and this is, I think, what Singer gets right, if it's truly unimaginable, then I think that's a good criterion for calling it evil. So if it's a moral bad that you can't even see yourself doing. And I'm sort of okay saying, yeah, sometimes people do that. Whether or not a person is evil, you might just mean, do they do that enough for it to cross your threshold? But it seems like a magnitude matters here.
Yeah, the rape of Nanking description. I'm not going to read it because
I had heard of it before, but I recently came across like a blog post about it, and I hadn't realized how bad it was. And unfortunately, I saw pictures.
When you see the pictures and then you just see the people, that's where it becomes in this just sort of unimaginable. And maybe you put me in that situation, and like even if the situationists are right about like most people just will be turned into that kind of moral monster under the right circumstances. It's still morally monstrous, and they still are moral monsters.
I feel like if someone called me morally evil after doing that, I would be like, how can you disagree? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading, actually, speaking of the rape of Nanking, about a Murakami book right now, The Wind-Up Birds Chronicle, and there's a description of, like a lot of what the Japanese did to the Chinese, but then also what the there's this just vivid description of this Mongolian torturer that just skins a man alive. And they all are just taking so much delight in doing that. And, like, even though there's a purpose for it, they're not doing it for the purpose.
Yeah.
Like, the person in charge of them has a purpose, getting information or whatever, but they're just doing it for the love of doing it. And that just crosses the line into evil for me. But like somebody who's not like that, but I would call evil in Deadwood, is Hearst. Yeah. Like, because there's such a like pitiless ruthlessness. And this is maybe gets back to the Hayburn thing. It's like, there's just nothing good and human about him. He is just a vessel for just making money and like acquiring property and wealth and power with just zero regard for like the suffering that causes.
Yeah. And maybe this is a good time to read what Singer has, this section where he talks about the kinds of evils that he calls it gradations of evil.
I like that. Yeah.
So the first is somebody who does something, knowing it to be evil and because it is evil. Which is
that's the
that's probably the rarest.
That's that real like sociopathic like personality that just gets off on how horrific what they're doing is.
And so like even if it behooves you to have a torturer on your side because it's instrumental for you, that person, if they're getting off on it, like I'm just like, yeah, I know I hired you, but you suck. You're a terrible, terrible person. The second is doing something, knowing it to be evil, but not caring. And
that's Hearst.
That's
right?
Hearst. Yeah. Third is judging it to be evil, judging it to be evil if inflicted on them or on people they're concerned about, such as those who worship the same God or are members of the same tribe, but not regarding it as evil if it is inflicted on others or inflicted by themselves. So like double standard, or like fourth, doing something, knowing it to be evil, but for other reasons, such as their own convenience. So I think that, and then Singer has two other kinds, but he says those aren't really evil, but I'll read them anyway. So
that might be Sopranos, right? Like Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
D.
Because the thing about Tony is he doesn't have to be in that business.
Right.
But it is, it is. It's the easy way. Like he's taken kind of an easy way out of life. He's not working.
What I would say about that is that one is only, I would call that an evil person. Like depending on how horrendously bad what they're doing is, it's one thing to do something morally wrong, knowing it to be morally wrong, but just, you can't be bothered not to do it. But if it's like, like torturing somebody or raping and killing and dismembering and dragging someone around just because they're black or whatever, then if it like the more horrific, then the fact that they're letting their own convenience trump that like is starting to be evil to me.
Yeah. And there's a case where I think you could make a case that there would be people in that category who are more morally culpable than people who don't care because they might, because I don't think we'll have time to get into it, but it's an interesting question whether a psychopath who's broken in a particular like emotional kind of way should be considered morally blameworthy. But they are evil. Like maybe for that reason, that sort of characterological ascription, I think is.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I don't get the sense that that's what's at play here.
No.
Like, I could think that some people would not be morally responsible for being evil. And in fact, like, you almost suspect that some of the, like, because they're so deformed morally, like, it's not something that you, like, a series of choices, like, that you make, like, a normal, reasonable person makes.
Right. Now, there are real, I think, I don't know if these are empirically true cases, like if or accurate descriptions, but there are the people who engage in something we've talked about with Paul, which is like perverse actions. People who seem like if somebody can, out of the blue for no reason, even though they know that something is wrong and horrendous, they're just like, yeah, let's do it. Like in the movie Rope, those two guys. Yeah,
exactly.
Those are scary.
Or I just saw Funny Games today. I suggested it to you, but I just saw it like a Michael Haneke movie, like
I take it it's not
invasion.
Funny. It's not.
It's not. It's really like I really struggle. Like I had a hard time watching it, and I didn't like. There were times where I just like fast forwarded, even though I often rewound. But like it's definitely a movie that it's like
sorry, that sentence cracked me up. There are times when I fast forwarded, although there were times when I rewound.
Well, because I couldn't watch what was going to happen, but then I was like, okay, but I should see what happened, and then I would go back. But like I really like I don't, the movie is kind of about like how the audience is complicit and we all take like a vicarious thrill about it, and it breaks the fourth wall in all sorts of different ways. It's a really well made, good movie. And I think Haneke is totally, I think Cachet is one of my favorite movies of the last 25 years or whatever. But it's like, I am not in that, like I kind of resented being told you actually love this because I don't watch those home invasion movies. I hate them. I can't stomach them. And the only reason I was watching this is because like I respect him as a director, and here I am being like accused of wanting to watch this thing that I find like I didn't enjoy watching it at all.
Right. Okay. The last
sorry
singers. No, that's fine. The last two categories that Singer concludes aren't actual evil. Are doing something, knowing it to be quote unquote evil or at least bad, but in the light of a fair and full consideration of all the factors reasonably knowable, for the sake of some greater good to be achieved. That's, I think, Al Swearingen. I think he knows that
although he's often right. I think this kind of person might be totally misguided about that.
Yes, right. And this would just depend on your intelligence, I guess, right? Because Al is very sharp. Al is doing things strategically that I think he even thinks are bad, but he thinks that not doing them is worse. So, for instance, his sacrifice of the Reverend I don't think he doesn't delight in that at all.
Not at all. In fact, like that's one of the things that you admire about him when he does that, because nobody else will get their hands dirty, even though they think it's the right thing to do.
It's one of the best character building sort of moments.
Oh, now your dog is gone.
I know.
Our dogs are like, get the fuck off the computer and feed me.
I know.
You want to know what's evil? Like starving your dogs. That's what's fucking evil.
So we'll wrap it up soon. Finally is the not believing it to be evil, but judging it to be good. Which again, you could be wrong and criminal and culpable and all that, but that wouldn't be evil.
And it's an interesting question about, I think he even brings this up, or he alludes to it, like 9/11 terrorists or something like that, who are, arguably, I don't know, I haven't like I haven't read up on the details of who they were and what their motivations were, but you could imagine that some of them were thought like this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if they didn't, right? And it's again, it's a hard thing. This is why the concept is wrought, because I feel like it's enough to say those are very, very, very bad people because they were wrong, but not necessarily evil.
And they also they were willing to sacrifice their lives for it. Even if it's the most misguided. Like that's a question where the action might be separated from the person.
From the person's character, yeah.
And it's because it's kind of unimaginable that you could get yourself to do something like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
right? It could be maybe they are the third category, judging it to be evil if inflicted on them or on people they're concerned about, but not regarding it as evil if it's inflicted on others. Here's one question I wanted to ask. Well, it seems as if at least Habron wants to, I think, be able to say that people who never do harm but are this sadistic voyeurs, like imagine you spend your time on the internet looking up like snuff films. I think he wants to say those people are evil.
Right.
And, this is just, again, a question of, I don't know that there's a right answer, but does that mesh with your sense of what it means to be evil? Like if you, one of them,
I would say they're just sick,
right?
A sick son of a bitch.
They're sick.
Yeah. That's like my theory of sick son of a bitches. Like maybe I'll have to save for another episode. But.
You write an op-ed. The distinction between evil and sick son of a bitches.
I don't know. What do you think? That's my thing. Is that no? You have to actually do something.
I think so too. I think if you're going to reserve the term for something, you should reserve it for people who actually act. And that means that, because maybe both of these authors want to make this characterological, like really about character. And they say, well, what if you're disabled, right? Like say you're quadriplegic and you can never actually do anything bad, but you really want to. Or say you wanted to detonate a bomb, but it didn't work.
Right.
That one's a little trickier. But I think that because you actually went through with the action. Yeah, right. And so there, maybe you're evil. But if you're just twisted, then I don't know that I would call you evil.
And also this is where like these kinds of marginal cases is where I'm unclear, like what could possibly determine like who's right about that, and B, why it matters. Like I think some people would call that person evil, like they have an evil sensibility. Fine. I wouldn't, but like I don't think there's a fact of the matter about it. Like,
no.
And I don't feel like, well, what I really need to do is compare it to all these other cases of people where I call, and if I find an inconsistency, I don't think that's how like concepts work. Obviously, if you've listened to this podcast, you know that. So like for those marginal cases, I lose the thread of like what the debate even means, how to even understand it.
Yeah, that's why I ended reading these papers with less of a curiosity about the concept evil, because I think that I was convinced that we don't lose anything. Like it's rhetorical mostly to me to say evil, because it's a handy word to indicate the things that we just indicated, because often you want to communicate that this person is bad. But when I say bad, I don't just mean that they were dumb and did something that hurt others. I mean like this is a sick son of a bitch who also carried out something really terrible. So it's kind of a handy word to have. I don't know that morally as a concept it's that necessary. I would be surprised if it's a concept that persists across languages and cultures. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
That's something I'm curious about too. Like, do the French really not have like a word that distinguishes? Like, is mal really what it is?
Yeah.
Or does that like in certain contexts signify something else? My knowledge of French isn't good enough to know the answer to that. But
in Spanish, I think you might say like diabolical. You might make reference to that in a way that even a secular person would understand what you mean. And I suppose that it's an empirical question as to whether or not if you gave people a bunch of descriptions of people, whether they would lump them together, even if they don't have the word, they would just be like, oh, this person is mal, but really, really mal in this way.
Right. They just like supplemented it with these other like conditions, which is kind of what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling is different from you, maybe, that I did really think that there is a concept that people use in a, more or less consistent way in terms of how they understand it. It's definitely not to the standards of any kind of conceptual systematic account, but like, it does pick something out that is different than just saying really, really bad.
Yeah.
And I think like I still feel that way after reading these papers. All right, Omar, just chill for 2 minutes when we wrap this up.
While we stop being so evil.
Killing a dog, that's an evil thing.
Feeding the pigs to Wu, that's a good thing then, So that Al is contributing so much to the well-being of the pigs by dumping bodies.
Especially given what we're going to do to pigs, like in the subsequent 150 years, they deserve to have, certainly, we have it coming.
Yeah. All
right. Well,
thank you for indulging me in this conceptual analysis.
One last thing about just the long-windedness of the Marcus Singer paper. It's unbelievable. Here's just an example where he's talking about the overgeneralized usage of evil, like people, and he's saying Hastings Rashdall's treatise, The Theory of Good and Evil, a thoroughly illuminating work on standard topics and ethics, has absolutely nothing to say about evil as such in the title, is used merely as a euphonious surrogate for the opposite of good. Then he goes through another one that he says, another philosopher, Richard Taylor and Philip There, and then he just throws in John Berent's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, uses evil in this same overgeneralized way, and despite its readability, and also despite its catchy title, provides no insight into the concept of evil as such. It's don't devote 200 words to taking a pot shot at a fucking novel.
A novel.
That's it's a title. Its goal wasn't to shed light on evil as such.
Dude,
that's not
I made a note of that too. I was like, did you just do a search on the word evil and look up books and then be like, wait, were you reading?
Just trash them.
Were you reading that book to find their analysis of evil?
And it goes on. There's just a ton of the more examples of. Is there an editor at this fucking journal?
Okay, so 2 things I wanted to also, because I forgot to bring this one up too. There's a part near the beginning where he's talking about his method. So he says, people are not always careful about what they say and often use the term evil instead of wrong or bad, emotively for emphasis or to express strong feelings of revulsion and disapproval. Thus, ordinary usage is a poor guide here and frequency studies useless. So we must search for clear cases uncontentious and clear beyond any reasonable doubt, cases such as those I am about to depict. If there are no clear cases,
will he depict.
Yeah, if there are no clear cases of evil, there can be no concept of evil and no theory of evil. And a little bit down, he says, someone else might disagree with some of my examples. That is not of my present concern.
Didn't he just say that it's just unambiguous?
Dude, I know. You could just what a way to reply to reviewers. Can you imagine?
That is not my
that
concern.
is not my present concern.
It's really we can just get away with it.
It's evil, really.
The banality of evil. All right. Join us next time on Very Bad Wizards.
The Cleveland Boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have.
Pay no attention to that man.
Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.